How y'all doing? If you like reseller content, toy content, like, subscribe, comment below. We got 3 games of life to go through. We have a miscellaneous bag of toys that includes some Schleich horses. And we got AEW Penta Jr., whatever he was called in AEW. And that's why the spend is a bit higher than usual, but we'll talk about that. But we'll get started with Game of Life. All right, as per usual, the 4 games we buy for parts: Game of Life, Monopoly, Sorry, and Clue. So nothing special about any of these Game of Life. I believe they're all going to have the green spinner, which I have been selling the green spinner, which is nice. Sold 3 to one person, sold 1 to somebody the other day. What it comes down to is how many cars, how many pegs. There's our beloved green spinner. Make sure there's no pegs in it. That's the money, really, is the cars and pegs sell very consistently. I cannot keep them in stock. The money and whatnot I don't need. So let's get these 3 sorted quickly. Alright, so not a bad box. Or 3 boxes, rather. The only issue, actually one of them was an orange set. Those sell about as well as the green. I've never run into this, and I cannot fix it. But this one is missing the cardboard insert. The box was immaculate, it just wasn't in there. So I'm never going to run into a cardboard insert without a wheel, so I'm just going to toss that. Worst case scenario, if the orange didn't sell, I could swap the cardboard into that, and it should work. But I don't think the odds of that are very good. There is a white wheel in the modern games, but the modern games have only 4 cars, so I don't bother buying them, and the pegs are different. So it's just nothing I'm ever going to overcome. So we have 3 generations of vehicles, and this is kind of funny. Back when Life came out, originally the station wagon was the family vehicle. Those eventually in the 90s, early 2000s kind of ceased to exist, and the family vehicle became the minivan. Fast forward to today, people have less kids, so the new vehicle are those they're not station wagons, but they're, I don't know what you call them, sport, not SUVs, some kind of like utility vehicle, like a Subaru. That's kind of the new station wagon, if you will. So those are the 3. So I got to match them up. I had station wagons and I had enough pegs. I'm missing a white van, so I go into my back stock and I have a white van. I had enough pegs. I'm missing 2 of these Neo station wagons. So I go into my back stock and I got 2 of those, and I was missing 1 peg, and I got a peg. So, all told, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Should have been another wheel in there. Should have been 15. $2 a piece. So I make decent money on Life. And these actually sell. These sell the fastest. The spinners not so much, but they have been moving. All right, so let's look at this bag of miscellaneous figures I got. All right, so we got a bag of random figures. So the bag was slashed open. I didn't bother going through it too much. But I confirmed real quick that there's at least 2 Schleich horses in here, which pays for the bag. Horses, kind of their own thing. We'll unpack the bag, though. This is a glittery dragonfly clip that looks maybe homemade. Kind of crappy. So we're going to toss that out because I don't want glitter everywhere. We have some moose figures. One's missing a leg. So these don't resell for anything because they're blind bag pickups. Or they're, from sets where Moose makes stuff that it's destructible. So like you'd get a castle and you'd break something and you could never really do it again. Then you'd crack it open and there'd be stuff like this in it. They don't sell because really the appeal is that you got to break the stuff open. So the gold old ones I think were from a Tomb set, which would explain why this dude's like a arrow. And then they're just kind of random. I did a video with one of my sons. What the I don't even know. His arm is... He has two right arms. Oh, no, I guess that's just like him doing a weird pose. Anyways, that found out that you can actually rearrange these, which makes them more fun. You can take the heads off and swap them around. So, something a little different you could do with them. But he likes these, so he's just going to end up having them. They have no resale value. And if you're ever not sure, right? Moose toys. And they're going to be, we'll do moose skeletons because you're going to get the moose animal. So moose skeletons is what these are. And you can see pricing, and that's asking price. We got $6.98 on this. And 51 sold, and going through it real quick, it's not really these figures. So there may be some rares, but I kind of doubt it. We have some, this is a lot of stuff to be selling for 20 bucks. It's just not a huge collector market for it. It doesn't have that kind of appeal. So even with that bad sell-through rate, it's mostly not the same stuff. So we got one of the dogs that we got here in this picture. But you're talking 14 figures for $26. That's a king. I've seen this guy. I have sold a bag of these, and I just kept adding to it, left the price the same, and eventually it moved for like 10 bucks after like 2 years. So I don't bother with these, and it's up to you what kind of time and effort you want to dedicate to stuff. But for me, my kids will get these and they'll think they're really cool. All right, so figures. We're talking Schleich. There's fucking glitter all over these from that dragonfly. That sucks. Anyways, Schleich is the top of the line animal figure company. Below that is Breyer for horses. Specifically below that is Safari International, Papo, and then below that is like Blip Toys. But really, Schleich always sell well. They're good quality, and if I can get them for $1 or $2, I always do. So I got them for $2. There's at least 2 Schleich in here, if not more. So we have 2 horses. Horses sell just a weird like gallop. Horses are the best-selling animal figure, followed by dogs, followed by everything else, basically. I guess sea creatures is probably the least popular, because you can't do as much with them. So another Schleich horse. I sold this one recently, because I remember that detail. And then we have, what is this? This is a Safari Limited. And my camera is not good enough to pick this up. But you could generally see in the fur the difference in quality. This is such a much finer detail than Safari Limited. Safari Limited's not bad, but it's not good. Safari Limited basically don't sell. I do a 5 count on them, whereas I sell these individually for like the same price. This is probably another Safari. Yeah, and you can just tell by how coarse the details are. This looks like a Schleich, actually. Well, it's a Safari, but that's a nicer one. And this one's definitely a Safari. All the cats are Safari Limited. So I almost have a lot on this. So I'll do like, for safaris, I'll do like 5 horses or 5 barnyard, 5 exotic, 5 dogs, whatever I can do for 5. being as this one's big, I might do a 3. I might like do that, and I can get $8 for it. I'm just gonna throw them aside for now. We won't count it, but we'll figure out what these are. I'm interested in this one. This one looks like it might be a Fjord horse, which are the most expensive Schleich, but I think the mane's a little different. I'm not great with horses, so I'll check in on these. Alright, so I had just sold this one recently. This is a Clydesdale foal. I recognize the bow on the back, so we just relisted it for the same price, which is a cheaper one. It's $8. Clydesdales are not well liked, I guess. I don't know. They don't go for quite as much. So this one's a 2009. So the way I figure out what's what on these is I put Schleich 2009, and then I put whether it's a mare, a stallion, a foal, or a colt. This is a foal. And you know that because these are anatomically correct. You can just pick them up and look. Is this it? This looks like it's it to me. So that's a Clydesdale foal again. Yeah, actually, if you look at it, it's almost the same horse, except not with the bow. And I left it unsold, so Clydesdale foal, we'll just double check. This is definitely it. 2009 Palomino. That's a different kind of horse. Everybody's saying Clydesdale, though. So, we got 9. I'm not going to beat 9, so we're going to do 9 on that. And then we have a 2015 Stallion. But this is the easiest way I've found. It's even faster than Google Lens, because they only produce a certain amount per year. So it's right there. And that is Haflinger. Whatever that is. Ligner. Haflinger. So there's that. $20 on this one, $20. It's showing from the other side, and you can see the weird mane, the way it cascades. And whenever you see watchers on something at a certain price, you know if you go below that, you're going to sell it pretty much right away. So I'm going to end up doing 16 on this. Now it's just going to show you a listing if it came up, but there's a guy who all he sells are these, and his price is the bottom dollar at all times, and he uses a particular background. He uses a skee ball ramp as his background, and there it is. So anytime I'm looking for something, he's always selling these, and he always uses this background. It's very easy to find. That's why I use cardboard as my background. I can tell what is mine immediately. So it doesn't look like he's had one of mine. See, that's my background. The cardboard thing. I can tell right away that's me. So we have one sold at 16 or 17. So we're just going to list it at 16. It'll be the cheapest out there. That's a good price, especially because I paid $4 for the whole bag. And there we are. We're in the money, and we haven't even looked at the big money object, which is the AEW Penta figure in the box. And we have a boxed wrestling figure. I've done two of these recently. I don't buy a ton of stuff like this because you don't find it thrifts. You find stuff like this at yard sales, and you find stuff like this on Facebook Marketplace. I'm going to probably do an updated video at some point about sourcing and what the pros and cons are of each thing. I don't do a lot of Facebook Marketplace because by definition, the person posting it has internet access and the ability to look at what things are worth. And 99% of the time, the stuff on Facebook Marketplace, if it's a searchable thing, if the people know what they have, they've immediately looked at eBay and they're pricing it like $10 less or $5 less or the same. So there's not a ton of deals on Facebook Marketplace. I use it primarily to buy lots of things, as far as like a lot of inventory, or somebody just selling like a giant bin of toys and they don't know what's in it. And I'll zoom in on the picture and I can figure out roughly value based on the photo and pick it up. You know, and also the hassle of meeting people, etc. Anyways, I bought 2 figures from a guy, and he's a nice dude, and he buys figures and then he sells them for what he paid for them. And I don't know why. I don't know how. It's a thing. I don't haggle with him. I ask him what he wants me to pay for things. Sometimes it makes no sense. Sometimes it's worth less than what he paid for it initially. Sometimes, like with this, it's worth a lot more. So, you know, he showed me some stuff he was selling or before he put it up, and asked if I wanted any, and I noticed Penta. So, Penta Jr. is a big player in WWE right now. He's probably going to cause the first in-ring death in WWE besides Owen Hart. But, yeah, his figures go for a lot of money, and it's an AEW figure. He wasn't there. I think he was there for maybe a year. I don't really follow wrestling that much at this point. With wrestling figures, what I do is I try to buy ones of guys that have something left in the tank. So the value is going to go up, because if this dude were to retire tomorrow, the rest of his life, he is just going to go to conventions and sign shit. Because that's what everybody does once they retire. It's easy money. You know, you could just pick a wrestler and go on their Facebook, and that's all they do. Hacksaw Jim Duggan travels the country nonstop, doing appearances, signing stuff. That's his retirement, and cool, you know? If I could do that, I would do that too. But it devalues everything out there because they're constantly putting signatures on stuff. So I pick wrestlers in the same way you would pick sports cards. If you were into that, I pick guys that are going to be around for another like 5+ years and are going to become more and more popular, and then the older figures are going to be worth more. So Penta's one of those guys. The dude was selling it for $16. I gladly paid it. There is a little damage to the box. I don't like really go through stuff with people on Facebook Marketplace, because we just agreed on a price and they handed it to me, and that's pretty much it. You know, if I don't trust you, I'm not going to do business with you anyways. So the only issue I have is the box is creased on the back bottom. So I'm going to have to mention that. Obviously, he put something heavy on it, and there's a base in here, and it pushed in. So I do have to mention that in the listing. It's not going to really affect anything. So Penta Jr., AEW, and it's a Series 6. And we have 55. I don't know why it's showing me Series 2, but whatever. We have 55 of these, and you can see the ask on these are $90 with a signature. We have watchers on that because this guy is blowing up. 85, 80. And then we'll talk a bit more about what we're doing with this when we look at sold. 55 for sale. 76 sold. So that's more than 100% sell through. $70. $95, $85 out of the box. And that's why I bought it. Even if the thing was damaged, like the whole back was rotten. For $16, I could flip this immediately. So then, what do? Typically, when I buy stuff that is boxed, I list it for triple what I bought it for. And I might sit on it for years, but I will eventually triple my money. This, if I listed it for triple what I bought it for, it would be gone by the time I hit list. It would be gone within an hour, guaranteed, and that would be stupid. My decision is, do I price it higher than what everybody else is selling it for and just wait for it to go? Because at 100% sell through, it will go. My thought is to list it for $80. It will go eventually. I could be more aggressive, but much like sports, if this guy gets hurt, if this guy does something to ruin his career and he's out of the spotlight, it's not going to increase in value any longer. This guy's style is very aggressive, which means he is likely to be injured, and he is likely to injure other people. And what that means, not to get in a pro wrestling tangent, but this is a business, kind of a business-to-business discussion, why I'm going to try to move this quicker. In wrestling, if you injure people, you will end up losing your spot. You'll lose your push, as it's called. There's a guy, Mr. Kennedy, who was blowing up, and he injured Randy Orton doing a belly-to-back suplex on Orton, which he was not supposed to do, and he lost his career over it. A guy, Nakamura, Shinsuke Nakamura, also is getting a push. He botched some kind of slam on John Cena and lost his push because you cannot go injuring big name wrestlers. Even if you are a big name wrestler, you don't always get a pass on that. Penta is not a big name yet, and I can see his style hurting somebody and him losing his career over it. So that's why I'm pricing it where I am. If I thought he was a real safe bet, I would probably put this at 100. But instead, I'm going to put it at 80. I'll make a good amount of money on it. And it probably still won't sit very long. So yeah, that was a good Facebook Marketplace pickup. So, excellent profit margin today. And if you like reseller content, toy content, like, subscribe, comment below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.